The vintage fan ripple stitch is one of those few stitches that will stop you mid-scroll, have you zooming in and trying to figure out how on earth somebody crocheted something so beautiful. It's big and bold and airy and open, and while all of those qualities don't necessarily make it the classic choice for a blanket, all of those reasons are exactly why I crocheted this blanket, for a statement piece in my living room. So what makes a blanket like this completely different from any blanket you've ever crocheted is the stitch pattern. The vintage fan ripple uses triple treble stitches, which are really fun and interesting to crochet on their own, but it's by far what makes this blanket the most unique it can possibly be. It's what adds a couple of inches to every single stripe pattern and makes this blanket work up incredibly fast. This is the triple treble row in this project, and just this one row alone adds like 1.5 inches to your project every single time you come to it. And rather have that work against me as far as a cozy, warm, comfy blanket goes, I'm having it work to my advantage for this statement piece for a blanket that's perfect to crochet in the warmer months or in warmer climates. And while it's really fun to crochet a very traditional, warm and cozy, maybe a textured kind of blanket, why not try something different, something fun and unique, and something that will catch somebody's eye? That's exactly what this blanket is for me. For this one, I actually combined 3 different brands of yarn altogether. The darker blue, the tan here, and this lighter blue are Caron Simply Soft. The cream color here and the like navy color, I think those are Bernat Satin, and my red color here is Red Heart Soft. Now, in addition to the yarn, I used a 5.5mm crochet hook for this blanket. So that's a good starting point if you want to give this blanket a try. You definitely want to test it out and make sure you're matching the gauge and adjust the hook size if you need to obtain gauge. That way you know that the sizing will come out as expected. As complicated as this stitch pattern looks, it's really quite simple. There's only 2 stitches involved throughout the entire thing, and there's only 4 rows to the entire repeat. The interesting part though comes in the pattern and how those basic stitches come together to make this ripple pattern that has like an openness to it and these big bold fans. Now, I'm not going to take you through stitch by stitch. I have the pattern linked in the description below. It's completely free for you to view on my website. I would encourage you to check that out if you're wanting to make this project. Now, I mentioned that the repeat itself is only 4 rows, and the stripes actually make it really easy to identify a repeat within the pattern because you're working the repeat rows 2 through 5 in a single color, and then you're switching to another color to start the next repeat. So the repeat actually starts on row number 2. Again, this is all spelled out in your pattern, and it picks up right after finishing a triple treble row. So on the edge, I have a chain 1, which I'm not counting as a stitch, but we want to single crochet in the back loop only of all of the stitches throughout this entire pattern. That's going to give it the sort of defined ridges that you see, kind of giving it some really good separation from one color to the next and different pieces of the repeat itself. So this first single crochet row is actually really easy to work. We first need to start off with 4 single crochets, so 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. And that should get you to your middle triple treble in this fan. See how we have 3 triple trebles in 1 stitch? The middle one is where we're working the point, or where we're continuing the point of the pattern. So for row 2, and actually 3 and 4, we're working 3 single crochets in 1, and that's going to make the point for this peak in the pattern. Then from here, it gets even more simple. We're just going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. That'll take us down to sort of the valley. I always talk in peaks and valleys when it comes to ripple stitches and chevron stitches because that's just what makes sense to me. So we'll work all the way down and back up. That 8th stitch is right there, and it gets you to your middle triple treble stitch. So you don't have to do a ton of counting necessarily with this project. As long as you know what you're looking for, it can be one of those really mindless kind of couch companion sort of projects. When you see your middle triple treble, you know you need to make 3 single crochets and then make a single crochet all the way to that next point for this row. And then on the other side of this repeat, at the other end of your project, you will end with 4 single crochets. Now it's important to note that one of the single crochets is worked in your chain stitch from your triple treble. We'll get to that when we get to that row, but for now, just know that working that last single crochet in that last chain is where you'll end things off. Now rows 3 and 4 are also single crochet rows. They're pretty much the same as this previous row, but just a little bit more involved. These rows add a little bit more to the shaping of this sort of chevron pattern, where this one just kind of allows you to build on it and gives you sort of a foundation for these 3 rows of single crochet. One of the main differences for rows 3 and 4 of the repeat is what you do here at the very beginning. I am going to chain 1, which I'm not counting as a stitch. I'm just allowing it to get me to the proper height. And we are skipping this first single crochet. So still working in the back loop only, making a single crochet in that next one over, and then the next 3. So we're starting off with 4 single crochets just like on the previous row, but it's just a little bit different in how we're handling that first stitch. Then we'll come to our 3 single crochets, which are right here. In the middle of those 3 is where we work that same 3 single crochet stitches so that we have the point for this peak here. So 3 single crochets there, and now we're working in groups of 4, actually for rows 3 and 4. So you can sort of commit that one to memory. We're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. But rather than have a decrease stitch like you might see in some ripple or chevron stitches, we're actually skipping 2 stitches after we've worked those 4 and then single crocheting in the next. Skipping those 2 stitches is what maintains the stitch pattern instead of like what we did for the previous row where we just single crocheted that whole foundation. We lost the shape a little bit with that. This stitch and skipping those, or this row rather, and skipping these 2 stitches is what maintains that stitch pattern. So we've skipped 2, we'll single crochet in the next 4. Again, we're working in groups of 4. And that brings us to our middle of those 3 stitches, and we can make 3 single crochets there. And the repeat begins. We'll make 4 single crochets down to the valley. We'll skip 2, and then we'll make 4 single crochets back up to the peak where we work those 3. And that's the repeat for rows 3 and 4 of our blanket here. So when you finish those 2 rows of single crochet, it'll look something like this. We have that sort of separation between the fans and a continuation of the stitch pattern, sort of pulling it all together and making it still look like that very chevron-y kind of stitch. So at the end of both of those rows 3 and 4, you're going to not work in the very last single crochet. You'll end with 4 single crochets as normal. You're going to have 1 extra. You're supposed to. That's completely normal. So when you're finished with row 4, we're ready to start row 5, and that is the triple treble fan crochet row. So for this one, we are going to chain 1 and turn, but that chain 1 is not going to count as a stitch. So for this one, we're going to start off with some slip stitches. We're going to use the back loop only, slip stitch in that first stitch right next to your chain 1, and do that for the next 2 stitches as well. So a total of 3 slip stitches, and that is getting us in place to start the fan. If you look at this previous row, the stitches don't start right on the edge. We kind of have this decorative sort of edge going that you can kind of see right there. So we need to pull it in a little bit, and that's what these slip stitches are doing. So the repeat for the triple treble rows is really simple and straightforward, not much different than what you've been doing already with the single crochets, but the practice of it is a little bit more involved, especially if triple trebles or really tall stitches are something that's completely new to you. So to start off, first we're going to chain 5, and this will count as a triple treble. Now for this stitch, we need to wrap the yarn around the hook 5 times. And then we're still using the back loops only. So find that next stitch and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're just going to walk it back until you have just 1 loop remaining on your hook. And it looks something like this. So that's the difficult part. That's the part that you really need to get used to, is keeping your tension steady with this stitch. It can be a little bit more difficult than your shorter stitches. Even stitches that are just slightly shorter than this one, a double treble or something like that is just a little bit easier too. So we need to start out with 3 triple trebles on the side. Then that gets us to our middle single crochet, the group of 3 there. That is going to be our foundation for the point here. So we need to have 3 triple trebles in this 1 single crochet. So the goal here is to have 3 triple trebles before our point, which is these 3 here. I have 2 now, we need 1 more. And then once you have that, that is 1 fan completed. So from here you would skip 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, the 5th stitch is where you work the next treble. If you're not a huge fan of the triple treble, or you want to sort of condense this a little bit so that it's not so open and airy, you can insert another stitch here. You could do a double treble or just a treble stitch, and that would make it just a little bit shorter. You would have fewer wraps. And that would be a quick and easy way that you can modify this pattern. You would have to add more rows. Your yarn requirements would be a little bit different than what the pattern suggests, but that is a very easy change that you can make within this blanket to sort of customize it to whatever stitch works best or looks best to you. Now that brings us to the color of this blanket. Honestly, this is the fun part. This is the part that is the most exciting about this blanket, and it's obviously the most customizable part in this entire pattern. So I decided to go with 6 different colors of yarn in various brands and colors that I had available to me at the time, and I would encourage you to do the same. Find some different yarns that you really like to use, put them together in ways that match the fiber as close as possible, the care instructions close as possible. That will make sure that your blanket wears evenly over time and that it has sort of a consistency in how it's cared for. As far as where those color transitions happen, that's something that you can really play with too. I think it's really interesting to have it change with the repeat. That way we have a defined ridge, we have a fan section, and then we sort of change it, because the texture of the stitch here, it leads you to think that a color transition makes the most sense. But play around with it. Do whatever looks best to you, whatever you think is really fun and exciting. That's going to make sure that you finish this blanket and you have the most fun working it as possible. So 6 different colors makes up this stitch pattern repeat, and it repeats sequentially. So we have color A, B, C, D, E, F, and then we start over A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on and so forth. But again, you don't have to go with this same color pattern if you have found something that's a little bit more exciting for you. You can work 1 color. This blanket still looks very stunning with a single color of yarn. You can do 2 colors, 3 colors, 15 colors, whatever you want, whatever works with your stash. This blanket is so flexible and works well with all sorts of color variations. So this pattern, this stitch pattern, because it's so open and airy, it has a lot of stretch to it. So if you were to pick a yarn that is a little bit more dense and more heavy than, say, your other acrylic yarns or animal fiber yarns or whatever, you will notice that this will sag and hang and be quite heavy when you're holding on to it. So when I'm thinking about all of this, what I like to do is look at the yarn label and specifically the weight of the skein of that yarn, and then compare that to other yarns that I have in my stash. So if I'm looking for a slightly lighter weight acrylic yarn, and I have the option between one that weighs 5 ounces and one that weighs 3.5 ounces, I'm probably going to choose the one that's 3.5 ounces just because the stitch is so open and airy and has a lot of stretch to it as you're holding it up. So just something to keep in mind as you're choosing your yarn. You don't have to choose an acrylic yarn by any means. This would work with a cotton yarn if you can find one that's a little bit lighter. Maybe a cotton blend yarn would work really great. A wool blend or a wool yarn specifically might also work really well. Those yarns and animal fibers tend to be pretty lofty and pretty light in how they are and work up really well with a stitch pattern like this one. As far as finishing goes for this blanket, I opted not to go with a border or any tassel or anything like that because I really think the stitch just does the blanket justice. It does enough for the blanket, and I just don't think it needs a border. Now, along the edges, we have sort of a built-in kind of border where it's a little bit jagged, and that's on purpose. That is supposed to make the blanket have sort of a decorative border along the side on its own, kind of built in, so there's no additional steps. And then of course on the top and bottom sides, your starting edge and your finishing edge, we have that, you know, classic ripple chevron kind of bumpiness to it, and I honestly love that the way it is. You could add little tassels to that, little pom-poms. That would be really fun and cute. Even though the vintage fan ripple stitch isn't your classic stitch of choice for a blanket, I think for so many reasons it's the perfect choice for a blanket, especially a blanket like this that you want to catch somebody's eye, that you want to be a statement piece in your room. I think it's just absolutely perfect for that. But then it grows fast. It's very fun and interesting to learn and to crochet. So it has a lot of motivational qualities built right into it. And that's why I love this blanket so much. I'm curious, have you ever worked a project with this stitch before? What was that project? Was it a blanket? Was it a shawl? Was it a sweater or something like that? I'm just really in love with this stitch right now. I think it's so fun and interesting, and I just don't think it really gets the time of day that it deserves. So let me know that in the comments below. Happy hooking, and I'll see you in the next one.